After years of fighting against the debilitating effects of multiple sclerosis, Elaine Delack decided to take matters into her own hands. She went back to school, got her nursing degree, and began an exhaustive study of the disease that threatened her life. And then, one day, something miraculous happened.
Every time I looked at the word histamine, I got these chills. And I didn't know anything about histamine. I was learning it as I was going.
Elaine felt that something was guiding her. Before she knew it, she had spent the whole day in the library. What she discovered would shake up the entire medical community.
What I learned in those 8 hours was that the people with MS don't make enough of this neurotransmitter called histamine. And so I realized if I just replaced the histamine, then that would be the answer.
Now Elaine had to prove her theory. Against the wishes of her family, she began experimenting on herself with histamine injections.
She brought home some stuff and she says, well, I'm going to start the injections. Of course, my immediate concern was what? Injection what? You know, what are these substances? Are they benign? What are they going to do? You know, at that time, I said, what are the side effects? I want to know what the side effects are. You're a guinea pig here. There's no one monitoring this.
But Elaine refused to stop. For weeks, she injected the histamine, varying the dosage. And then, one day, it happened.
My tingling was gone, my weakness was gone, my fatigue was gone. I could tolerate heat.
Come on!
Good job, bud.
I was feeling normal again, like I didn't have MS.
We were seeing less in fatigue. We were seeing more energy. I was excited that I was getting my wife back.
Elaine had battled her MS symptoms and won. And now she was ready to share her treatment with the medical community. Unfortunately, she found that the news of her discovery fell on deaf ears.
He said, are you a scientist? And I said, no. He said, are you a doctor? And I said, no, I'm a nurse who has MS, and I want to know if you're doing any research. The phone went dead. I never got another answer. He just hung up when he found out I was just a nurse. At times I would think to myself, you know, you are just a nurse. If there really was something to this, Elaine, somebody would be doing something with it.
Reports of Elaine's treatment leaked out, spreading like wildfire to other MS sufferers, who encouraged her not to give up.
The phone would ring. There'd be somebody I didn't know who had MS and said, I'm hearing you're doing this research on MS. And it was just kind of like, okay, God, I'll just keep trying.
Elaine continued to refine her formula. She knew that histamine injections were unrealistic for many people suffering from multiple sclerosis. So, she began looking for someone who could put her compound into a transdermal patch.
A patch like that would slowly release the medication through the skin.
It was exactly the kind of challenge that appealed to pharmacist Judy Richardson.
I came in a lot of times on Sunday afternoons when the store was closed, or I did work at home reading the research, looking for what kind of a dose I wanted to decide on.
Working from Elaine's notes, Judy eventually came up with a cream that could easily be applied to the patch.
We want to have it nice and creamy so that it'll stay on the patch.
And I put it on, and a few hours later I'd get symptoms, and I told her, no, this isn't right. We need to add a little more of this or a little more of that.
Finally, they got it right.
I could do anything I wanted to do. I could go with the family wherever they wanted to go. I was ecstatic, and I wanted to get this out to other people.
Elaine convinced a local doctor to test her treatment on his MS patients. The results were astounding. Next stop, the drug companies. Elaine wanted to share her discovery with the world.
And I just gave him all my research. I wasn't looking for any compensation or anything. I just wanted somebody to please do the study, get this medication out available to people. And they didn't want to do it because they didn't think there was any money in it for them. They didn't believe it was patentable.
But once again, Elaine Delack refused to give up. If the big companies wouldn't help her, she'd do it herself. First, she had to come up with a name.
I just thought of, well, Pro, and then Caring. And I thought, just drop the G. Made it Prokarin.
And then she got the break she'd been looking for. A local news program profiled Elaine and her struggle to make Prokarin available to all MS sufferers. the floodgates were opened.
We started Prokarin August 3rd. We will never forget it. Okay, let's try our bending and stretching. Just bend.
Larry McCarthy had struggled against MS for 37 years, spending most of his days in a wheelchair or in bed. Desperate for anything that might help her husband, Linda McCarthy convinced Larry's doctor to let him try Prokarin.
By the end of the second week, he says there is no numbness in his leg. All the numbness has gone. The left side is beginning to come alive. And he can make himself understood now. He still goes to speech therapy, but he has a voice.
Shall we try to get you in to see the kids' apartment or condo this weekend?
I would like to.
Yes.
Very much.
Dr. George Gilson of the Tahoma Clinic has been tracking Larry's progress since he began using Prokarin.
The results for Larry have been quite startling. He was able to use his left hand, he was able to scratch his head, he was able to turn over in bed, he was sleeping soundly through the night. It was night and day for Larry.
Okay. Oh, you did it!
Does it work? Does it improve the level of functioning in a certain percentage of people? Yes, it does. Out of 100 people that you give it to the best of our ability, 2/3 of the people will have some response to it. You might try that high tape.
For Elaine, hearing how Prokarin has helped so many people is a dream come true.
You just can't describe it. You just overwhelming joy, happiness. I just kind of relive the feeling of getting my life back as they tell me their experiences.
Word of Prokarin's benefits spread quickly across the country. Although not FDA approved, a recent study showed nearly 600 doctors were prescribing Prokarin and more than 500 pharmacies were manufacturing it.
I want everybody to have it. I want people to have Prokarin to control their symptoms. And I believe if I can get the medical community to look at Prokarin and to look at the theory that it's based on, I know they can find the cure.
But Elaine Delack will always be remembered for what she's already accomplished.
Elaine is very much an angel. She has had so much tenacity to stick with this. We have been given our life back today.
As Elaine looks back on her years of struggle, she believes she was never alone.
I knew that day that was God telling me that this is my purpose. You know, I just can't say enough. God has really touched me, and I'm finally able to do what He wanted me to do.
Recently, Prokarin was used in a double-blind study against a placebo, and the findings were very encouraging. The MS patients given Prokarin exhibited a significant decrease in fatigue, as well as improvement in cognition, hand dexterity, and motor skills. The next step is an FDA approval. If you'd like more information, go to edmsllc.com.